Hey everyone, I am 22 Tiger Dude and I'm back for Animation Domination. So let's get it started. We're going to start with the Thanksgiving episode for the Cleveland show. So Holt misses his flight, but it turns out that it wasn't his flight to visit his family. He was actually taking a flight to go to some entourage event. And he reveals that he wasn't invited to his family's Thanksgiving dinner, which is sad if you ask me. And then the family feels bad, so Holt spends Thanksgiving with Cleveland and his family instead. And then Rowlo, he brings in Holt's father, who is like the military guy, and you know, he's more of the commanding officer, and nothing's ever too good for Holt's father. So Holt's Thanksgiving is ruined because of his father commanding him to do push-ups and all that stuff. And to my surprise, I'm not huge on this show, but lately this season, as far as it goes, it's really not that bad, because last season was terrible. I barely found any enjoyable episodes last season, but this season, at least so far, it's really not bad, and this one is actually one of the better episodes of the season. Not my favorite. There were a couple of times in the episode where I got bored, or this wasn't interesting. A few of the humor really wasn't great, but that's really my only flaw with this episode. I actually got a lot of laughs out of this. I thought the storyline was handled nicely. I really like seeing Holt's father here. I really laughed hard when he made everyone do the push-ups. Holt's a good guy, and you know, we want to make sure that this guy has a nice Thanksgiving. So it was really nice of Rowlo to bring in his father, and Holt, he even stands up to his father in the end, in which you could tell in the end the father earned respect for him for doing that. So I thought this episode had a really nice and heartwarming conclusion. It's entertaining, it's funny, well written. It's not my favorite, but it's definitely one of the better episodes of the season, and probably the best episode of the season so far. Cleveland show is not so bad so far. We'll see how the rest of the season goes, but as far as this Thanksgiving episode goes, I'm going to have to give it a 9 out of 10. Okay, the Simpsons episode is about Homer's bowling a teammate. He's been involved in Fat Tony's little, his group. So he's like one of the murderers out there, but it's like his secret, and he doesn't want anyone to know. And he's voiced by Steve Carell, and I like Steve Carell. So I love that Steve Carell gets the voice in this episode. The episode was overall really entertaining. I really liked this episode. It was enjoyable. It was funny. And, it was just very nice. Steve Carell really brought in a lot to his character. So that was very good to see. Episode's not my favorite though. It was pretty odd, especially when it gets towards the end. The end was, I felt like it was weak. I felt like it could have been better. But for what the episode was given, I do recommend it, especially if you're a Simpsons fan. I really do enjoy this episode. Great voice appearance by Steve Carell. And the animation, of course, is always going to be great. It was really good seeing Fat Tony and this murder group here. It was just so gosh darn hilarious. Fat Tony is really one of the most entertaining, I guess you could say, hustler, hitman, whatever antagonist guy in the show, and just one of my favorites in general. It was handled well, execution felt a bit odd at times, as well as the pacing. But not every episode could be perfect. I know some people give Simpsons a hard time, but really, it's still the same Simpsons I know and love. I really hope to see more episodes like this. As I said before, Could have been better, but I really enjoyed it. It was funny. It entertained me. I pretty much didn't get bored except for like a few times. And I'm giving this episode a 9 out of 10. Great voice, starred by Steve Carell as well. Okay, this Thanksgiving Bob's Burger episode, oh boy, about when the family, I don't care about the name, I'm not gonna say it. I really don't give a crap about the names because I don't really care too much for the show either. But they pretend to be this rich guy's family, so they're being complete jerks to Bob, and Bob's being treated like the waiter because he's like the waiter at this house, and it's all for a Thanksgiving dinner, which sounds pretty messed up, and I felt bad for Bob here. But let's just continue on with this episode. Okay, this episode, it was, oh boy, it was mediocre. It was alright. No, not even alright. It's just fine. Let's just go with that. I'm not a fan of Bob's Burgers. The season hasn't been too bad though. Still not getting where it needs to be, and sometimes I really don't know why this show is so popular, why it has so many fans. I understand everyone has their own different humor, but really I find Family Guy, Simpsons, even American Dad more entertaining than this one, so I don't know. The plot was just not that great. Execution, it felt poor, it felt weak. You really despise the family, the kids. They were annoying as they usually are. There are times where they're annoying, but they can be funny too. And there are times where they're just so darn annoying that they're just not funny at all. Oh, why with these kids? Oh, why? Oh, humor. Oh boy, I didn't laugh much here in this episode either. I wouldn't even be surprised if even the fans are disappointed in this Thanksgiving episode as well, you know? It's just not that good. It really isn't good in general. I don't know what to say. If you're a fan, maybe you'll like it, maybe you'll find it funny. But, oh, it's just not that great. It just felt very weak. Humor was very stale. It was bland. It felt like something came out of your mouth after you ate an expired gallon of milk. Well, sounds disgusting when you put it that way. So, this Thanksgiving episode is a 5 out of 10. Just a fine, mediocre Thanksgiving episode, which I'll probably forget about because really, I don't give a crap about this episode. So, yeah. Family Guy! We now go to Family Guy. Alright, so this episode of Family Guy is about when Joe goes after the crook that made him into a wheelchair in the first place, the guy that never made poor Joe walk again. And remember in that first episode, season 1, I forgot what it was called, but it was that season 1 episode where Joe moves in next door to Peter. Peter becomes jealous of Joe and all that stuff. And he tells a story about the Grinch pushing him over the roof and all that. Well, it turns out that was not a real story. Joe just made up that story because he was too ashamed to reveal the real story. The real story was just him, was just this crook. He was after a crook, one of the most wanted actually. And this guy just shoots him in the legs for him never to walk ever again, and him in his wheelchair. And Joe, he feels like he's lost his manhood over the years, because he feels like that he's not a man with, you know, his wife Bonnie around. So, you know, you do feel bad for Joe. And this episode was very good. I loved it. well done, and it's definitely the best of 9 as well. Dang, this season of Family Guy has been very good so far. So far, it's actually impressing me more than last season did. I mean, last season was funny and it was entertaining, but as far as episodes go, this season has been very good. It's just easily entertaining me so well, and it still brings the humor. I know Family Guy isn't as golden as it used to be, but I really think some people are too harsh with the show because I really don't think it's terrible. Yes, I agree, it went downhill a little, but I still enjoy the show. And this episode right here proved to me why I still really like Family Guy. There was many funny moments. I laughed at a whole bunch of moments. The plot with Peter, Quagmire, and Joe finding this robber so Joe could get his revenge on him for making him never walk again in the first place was very entertaining. And we all know revenge isn't good, and we all know Joe is a very nice guy, but you want to see Joe get after this crook. You want Joe to get payback at him because the guy deserves it, and he has no shame or remorse for what he did to Joe years and years and years ago. So I really enjoyed that as well. What I found cool about this episode, though, this episode actually mentioned, and this doesn't happen often, it actually mentioned a city that I lived in. And when they did that, I was like, wow, that is awesome. That is so awesome. So, it's so beautiful. So beautiful. Well, I'm being over too dramatic, but you know what I mean. Oh. And I just don't want to spoil anymore. I just don't want to really spoil anything about this episode. But really, if you like Joe and based on what I'm telling you, you want to see what happens next with him between the guy who shot him and made him in a wheelchair, then see this episode for yourself. I definitely recommend this Family Guy. And of course, and most definitely, once again, it's getting a 10 out of 10. Oh, American Dad. Oh. Whew. Okay. Lastly, you just heard what I'm reviewing, so I'm not going to repeat it. It's another episode where Roger falls in love. We already saw that Roger fall in love with Haley in that shitty season premiere this season. And now he falls in love with Stan's mom, and then the subplot is Steve and his friends, they go into a plane crash and they find the script for a movie, and the script for the movie was actually for the Fast and the Furious 7. And of course they get into it. It's a whole bunch of weirdness. People who, let's just say, people who are very, very against gay people are not going to like that plot. That's all I'm going to say. And that plot, surprisingly, I think is a bit funnier than the main plot with Roger falling in love with Stan's mom, but it still wasn't anything all great, fantastic. Nothing like that at all. After having to suffer through Roger's love life with Haley in the season premiere, this one was weird. I didn't like it, but it wasn't as terrible as him getting all weird and trying to rape Haley sort of thing. So, yeah, weirdly, but truthfully, I'd rather see him fall in love with Stan's mom. And then there's another part to it. Roger treats Stan like his son, and Stan starts to see Roger as a stepdad, which was funny and actually kind of cute. So that whole part of the plot, despite the creepiness, was actually funny. And then more things come, and yeah, I don't want to just go into. I don't want to say any more things. This episode's okay. It's not terrible. It's nothing bad. There's some nice laughs. There's part where I got extremely bored by. Well, actually, I didn't laugh that much. But, you know, for the laughs I was getting, I got a pretty good and amusing laugh out of it. And I watch these cartoons because we all need to watch something to make us laugh, you know. When we're down, having a bad day, like, or when we're having a good day and like, yippee! You know, we just need to be happy and watch these shows and, you know, just nice laughs right here. Not much, but, you know, I got what I hoped for at least. And I don't really need to say more about Steve's subplot because, well, I found that one a bit better. It still wasn't anything spectacular. And I'm not anything against gay people, alright? But I just don't know why the writers would come up with something like that for the subplot. That's really nothing much I could say about American Dad, though. It was just a fine, alright episode. It had laughs, not much. Alright executions. But in the end, it's not really that bad. It's not the worst of the night. The worst of the night, as you can see, is obviously Bob's Burgers. But it's nice. I definitely wouldn't watch it again, though. But, you know, it's okay. I'm going to give this American Dad episode a 6 out of 10. Alright, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this. You can always subscribe to me. You can like and share this video. You can comment below on your opinions of each of the Animation Domination premieres, most of them being Thanksgiving related. And don't forget, you guys, I will always have Tiger Power.